Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back. In this video, we are looking at the Monday NBA slate. 7 games to kick off the week, so a nice medium-sized slate. There is some things to talk about. We'll definitely go in detail within Brooklyn Nets and like the Wizards and some teams like that. So let's get started. As always, appreciate you guys hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. You can check out the website dfsprocess.net. Links in the description. Check out Twitter. Check out Prize Picks if you wanted to get some free cash over there. Yesterday, I didn't have video out for NBA, but posted my core on Twitter. Had a ton of Hornets because they were super short-handed. Had Ball, Rozier. They were really good. Monk was also solid, and then had a couple others that weren't great. McDaniels was only 3,000, so it didn't really matter. And then Bridges was super popular in cash, so still made out in double ups. Looking to keep it going today. So let's get started. Point guard options. You have James Harden 10-7. There is no Kevin Durant, and in this one, it's one of the better spots against the Kings in terms of just being able to score on them. They give up 100 and almost 120 points per game. Brooklyn Nets still have a very powerful offense even without KD with Harden and Kyrie. And Kyrie kind of just gave over the point guard duties to Harden. So that is going to help Harden get a lot more assists and have the ball in his hands a lot more. We know he can do some great things when he does have the ball in his hands. So I really do like Harden here at 10-7. You definitely can go to Irving too, because reading this news, he's playing shooting guard now, blah blah blah. People might just not be a little bit nervous to play him, but I think it's a fine spot. Like he's still gonna have the ball in his hands a lot. They're gonna split some minutes with Harden and Kyrie, especially tonight. Like you'll probably see one of them check out in like the 5-6 minute mark, and then check in for the other one. So still gonna get like 15-20 minutes of him on the court without James Harden when they do like those overlapping scenarios. So he looks to be still a really really good play at 9,000 against the Kings without Kevin Durant. Westbrook, see if he plays today. I think he's probably going to end up playing one of these back to backs pretty soon. He did play yesterday, only played 29 minutes, so that's a good sign that he might even play tonight. They ended up winning. They ended up beating the Boston Celtics by 13, which is pretty rare. They shook up the starting lineup, and I think that's some changes that they're going to stick with because they ended up winning, which is pretty rare for them. So Westbrook, if he plays, I'm not that interested. It's against his former team, so maybe he has some revenge on his mind. But I think I'd rather go Kyrie Irving than Westbrook on a back-to-back set. I like Fox if he plays. He's been dealing with a bit of a knee injury, missed one game, then came back, and then they played the Grizzlies and kind of got blown out, so only played 30 minutes. So could see him play some good minutes tonight if he's not hampered by his injury. It's a game that we can definitely stack up. You have two of the worst defensive teams in basketball squaring up against like two decent offenses in terms of pace. And yeah, Donovan Mitchell still without Mike Conley, so Mitchell looks to be a great option against the Sixers. It was a back-to-back set against the Milwaukee Bucks and the Miami Heat. He didn't play great in any of those two games in terms of shooting, but a game against the Heat, the game got out of hand late, so he didn't have to play much in the fourth quarter. It's still a guy that gives you a ton of upside. Price tag is still very reasonable. Sixers have a good defense. They've been losing some games recently, but they have a tendency to give up some big games to guards. We saw Devin Booker go nuts against them last time out. We've seen, last year and years past, like Kemba's gone nuts against them many times. Guys like Mitchell, scoring dominant guys that have the ball in their hands a lot, have done great. So I do like Donovan Mitchell. At home, the Jazz are really good. They score a ton of points, and I think Sixers can keep this game close enough to where Mitchell's going to have to go out there and score a ton of points, and it's going to go kind of be a back and forth going into the fourth. So I like Mitchell at 8,000. I like Mitchell more than Simmons. I like Mitchell more than Brogdon, John Wall. We have both Westbrook and Wall facing their former teams. Obviously, they got traded for each other. Wall still hasn't. He's been fine, but he hasn't shown like a huge ceiling yet. They kind of been a little bit cautious with his minutes, and Steven Silas really doesn't take any crap from his team. We've seen him like bench some of his starters for times. Like he didn't play DeMarcus Cousins at all in the second quarter of the game against the Knicks after he played like 9 first quarter minutes. So if he doesn't like what he sees, if he doesn't like the effort, he's just gonna go to his bench. So they are a tough team, even though they're like have some injured players in Oladipo and Wood. Like Silas is still giving like the bench quite a bit of minutes, and even without Wood, we haven't seen DeMarcus Cousins. Seems that Silas isn't really happy with him. He just hasn't been giving him a ton of minutes, which is pretty sad. Because I mean, it's not that sad. It's sad because Cousins, in the past he can like absolutely go nuclear, but this year he's playing a bit soft. He's not really going in the paint. He's kind of just settling for threes, and as a coach, that's not what you want out of your 7-footer. So, um, yeah, the Rockets definitely a team to consider. I think Wall looks fine. Gordon, 64. He's been playing good minutes. He looked okay. Clarkson, they priced him up to 59. So I'd rather go to Mitchell. I think I'd go Ingles over Clarkson just because he gives you a little bit more peripheral upside. And right now, I don't see any cheap point guard options that I'm really going to, unless we have like Westbrook out. Then we can look to like Raul Neto, or even Troy Brown will get some minutes without Ish Smith. But I think Kyrie Irving is going to be a guy that I get in at $9,000 against the Kings. Feel really good about him hitting like high 40s, low 50s fantasy points at least, and just give you a bit of a savings off of Harden, who will be super popular, I think. Shooting guard is Zach LaVine at 9,200. Is the most expensive guy. He's been going nuts all season in terms of shooting and scoring. He's been a really fun player to roster in fantasy. Price tag at 92 isn't the best. I liked it when he was like 86, 89. Playable on a 7-game slate. If Westbrook is out, then you have to go Beal over LaVine, I think, against the Rockets. You have Donovan Mitchell at only $8,000, so I like Mitchell a lot at 8K against the Sixers. Just kind of what I mentioned on the DraftKings side. Expecting to kind of bounce back in terms of the scoring. He's been getting some more assists recently, except for the last game against the Heat. But the rebounds have been there, assists have been there, scoring is definitely there every night. Even though the efficiency is not always there, but he's really scoring 20+ points every single night for the most part, especially without Mike Conley right now. So I do think he looks like a great option that we can target in at the shooting guard position. Then we have Cavs on a back-to-back. You have Colin Sexton, 68, looks all right. Cavs are really bad right now. They just can't get a win. Their offense has no like continuity right now, and they've been really struggling. We have Halliburton if they happen to like sit De'Aaron Fox on a back-to-back set with his knee. Lou Williams, if Kawhi happens to be out, I think they kind of just had him out last game because they're facing the Cavs and it was a back-to-back here. I do expect Kawhi to play. Ingles, I like him at 5,700 just because he is a great shooter, gets some more rebounds, gets some assists, and playing big minutes, so he looks good against the Sixers. Lamb's coming off the bench now, so his minutes are a bit tough to trust. Curry's kind of a tough matchup. I'd rather go to the Jazz and target a lot of Sixers, unless Embiid is questionable. If he happens to sit, then we can look to some Sixers. And for the most part, that's it at this position. Small forward options. At the top, it's Kawhi Leonard, 96. If he plays, Paul George, I think, is also questionable. Maybe they haven't kind of ruled him out for this game yet. We'll see if he happens to come back. Kawhi's in. It's a tough spot. The Heat have been playing better. I think I'd probably pass on the price tag. I'd rather get to like Kyrie. I think you probably can get to Harden or like Mitchell. You have some other cheaper options here like Kelly Oubre, Andrew Wiggins. Both guys been playing a lot better recently, especially Kelly Oubre. In terms of just being a better fantasy player, he's been getting a ton of more rebounding opportunities ever since they've lost their centers, ever since like Wiseman's been out, and then ever since like Looney has also missed a lot of time. Starting Draymond at the 5, he's undersized, so there's the other forwards have to rebound a lot more. Oubre, Wiggins, and we've seen Kelly Oubre get 10 rebounds 3 straight games. I don't think that's just like a fluke. I think that's going to happen going forward until they get Wiseman back, until Looney gets back, and they start like Draymond at the 4, because Kelly Oubre is now playing power forward instead of like kind of small forward, power forward. Toscano Anderson plays some, but he's not out there playing 35 minutes. Just more rebounding opportunities, takes a lot of shots, and he's been shooting a lot better, playing with more confidence. Kelly Oubre, 65 against this Cavs direct, I think looks great. Like Ingles still at this position. You have Joe Harris, definitely can play him without Kevin Durant. Bruce Brown looks good on the Brooklyn side as well. And for value here, you have like Jayshawn Tate at 46, Toscano Anderson 45. And then the Houston guys are priced up a bit, like for House and Sterling Brown. Last game they were like in the 3K range, so they look a little better. I'd probably go David Nwaba out of any of them at 3,600. Moving on to power forward, it's Domantas Sabonis, 9,100. Should absolutely eat against this Bulls front court. He did drop 55 against them. The triple-double, like that was earlier in the season. Last game, he was on pace to have a monster game against the Atlanta Hawks. Only got limited 27 minutes due to foul trouble. He had like quick fouls in the second quarter and the third quarter. He still was out there for most of the third, but didn't have to play much in the fourth as they kind of were on a roll and the coach just stuck with the hot unit. I do want to go back to him here. He gives you a ton of upside, 9,100. Randall also looks great. Both of those guys are in great spots. Sabonis is in a bit of a better spot, so I'd rather go to him. $400 more. And then don't have a ton of interest in the mid range here. For value, you can look to like Morris if they're without Kawhi and George, which I don't expect. I think at least one of them will play. It's probably Kawhi. And then for value, you have Dermott. If he misses, then we'll probably see Lamb jump back into the starting lineup. You have Gallows kind of prices going up now that his minutes are going off 49. Still a decent price tag, but he's still coming off the bench, so it's a guy coming off the bench is tough for them to get like 35 minutes. So I don't think I'll have too much interest. Tate looks fine at 4,600. You have like maybe you can take a shot on like House. He had a really bad shooting game, couldn't make a shot 0 of 8. Kind of had 3 blocks, so he does contribute, but his shooting has been really bad. He's 0 of 5, 1 of 9, 1 of 7, 2 of 7 recently from 3. So seems to be on a bad stretch. You have B Jelly here, playing good minutes the past few games without Marvin Bagley. If Bagley happens to miss again, could be a nice option here at $4,000 that we can target. And then you have like Teddy Osman, 33, Okoro, 34. Don't have too much interest in any of those guys. Osman was good last game. That was without Drummond, but Cavs coach Biggerstaff also hates Osman. Like some games he doesn't get minutes. He's a pretty interesting player in terms of shooting, and like you would expect him to be a good shooter, but then he's shooting under 40% from the floor. So Sabonis, Randall, the 2 top plays at this position. Collins looks decent as a $7,000 small forward. Center, things will go pretty crazy if Embiid sits, because I mean you can even fade it the Sixers even if Embiid sits, because the Jazz have been so good that it's not like it's a great spot for the Sixers. You have Capella, I like him, but like Pierce isn't giving him a ton of minutes, which is sad because he's been super productive. Like 28 minutes against the Pacers, they sub him out at like the 6-minute mark, comes back in. They try to get him like 3 rotations in the first half, but still, you're probably gonna get like low 30s in minutes if you're lucky, unless he's just going nuts. Unless Collins in foul trouble, but they play quite a bit of guys there. You have Drummond, 7,600. His minutes have been all over the place. Foul trouble and blowouts the last few, and then he sat out for rest yesterday. Still gives you a huge ceiling. It's tough to trust though, but the price tag keeps going down. He should be able to have his way in the front court here. Draymond is a good defender, but Drummond has a huge size advantage. Gobert, if Embiid sits, would be a better option here. And then you have quite a bit of cheap plays here at center. You can go to DeAndre Jordan at 4,500 without Kevin Durant. He's gonna play good minutes here at center, probably at least in the 20s. You have Nerlens Noel at $4,400, played 32 minutes. We know Tibbs runs his starters to the ground and played a ton of minutes in his first start in place of Robinson. It's going to happen again today because the Hawks play big with Collins and Capella, so I see Noel as a good value play. Him and DeAndre Jordan, you can probably get with the one of them. And then the other cheap play that I like is Wagner. It's $3,200. The Wizards finally got a win, and that was with Wagner starting at center. So it's probably going to continue going forward here, and he's a guy that if they do give him 20 minutes a night, like they did yesterday, he's going to hit value at 3,200. His price tag is going to rise, especially if Westbrook happens to sit. Even if Westbrook's in, it's not going to kill him as a center. But I think right now he looks to be one of the better value plays on the slate, just because they didn't even play Len at all last game, and I think they want to get Wagner some more minutes instead of Len or like Robin Lopez. So these are the 6 guys I feel good about as of 9:20 in the morning. Go ahead and talk about FanDuel for you guys. All right, on FanDuel here, starting off at point guard, it's Curry is 10-5 against the Cavs. Great spot for Curry. And then we have Trae Young, 99. Didn't even take a 3-point shot last game. Hawks losing games. Think probably will make some changes at the deadline, whether that be trading John Collins. but things aren't working right now in Atlanta. You have De'Aaron Fox, good price tag, 8,700. I like him. Westbrook, if he plays, is at a better tag on FanDuel, 9,000. Then you have Brogdon, Wall, two cheaper options that we can consider. Probably go Brogdon, then John Wall. McConnell's been playing good minutes off the bench. If McDermott's out, probably helps him a little bit in terms of minutes. Kobe White's good price tag at 58. And then kind of don't really have a ton of confidence in the Knicks point guards now that Rose is playing good minutes. And you have like Satoransky, could be a decent option at 39 as a pump play. But there are a ton of studs at this position, so probably go to Fox if assuming he plays here. It's a great spot against Brooklyn, 87, a guy that gives you 60 FanDuel point upside, gets a steals upside here in this type of spot. Harden turns the ball over quite a bit. Speaking of Harden, he's 10-6 at shooting guard. He looks to be a great option if we can get to him. You have Bradley Beal at 98. I go Harden and Beal. Levine, I probably won't get to at 96 with Beal and Harden right above him. I love Donovan Mitchell at 8,300, especially now that they priced up Clarkson to 55. So it's tough to kind of go Clarkson over Mitchell now that Clarkson is priced up. So still go Donovan Mitchell on FanDuel at shooting guard. You have Eric Gordon at a good tag. Kevin Huerter looks decent. And then if you want to go cheap here, you have Bruce Brown at 3,900. Looks to be a fine value option. You can also please like 41 on DraftKings. So it looks good on both sites, especially FanDuel looks fine too because you need two shooting guards. Small forward, it's Kelly Oubre. Looks tremendous at $6,700. The way he's playing and the fact that there's not that many great options here. In this range, you have Kelly Oubre, and then you have like Barnes, Bogdanovich. So you have those guys in 6K range. I definitely think Oubre is my favorite in that range. And then for cheap options, you have Joe Ingles, you have Joe Harris, you have Holiday, and then you have Gallinari at 45. So I've been playing Joe Ingles a ton. It's been really working out, and I definitely want to keep it going until the price tag goes up on FanDuel. Like, he shouldn't be 4,900. Small forward, probably get to one of Sabonis or Randall. Right now, I like Sabonis the most. He's 96. I think people will probably go to Randall over Sabonis, but I think Sabonis is going to drop like 50, 60 points tonight. And then there's not a ton of cheaper options here when you have like Tate at 54, Royce O'Neal plus 5,000. BJ is already up to 5,000. Noel is priced up to 48, so not too much value here. You have Jeff Green looks decent, and then you have Wagner or Patrick Williams. And then center on FanDuel, you're gonna have to make some decisions. Right now, you have some cheaper options to consider. Oops. You have Miles Turner as like a tournament option, but if I'm going Sabonis, I don't want to go with two. I don't want to go with both of them. You have Capella at 78, but his minutes sometimes are up and down. You have Drummond's also minutes are up and down, but Drummond's only 6,500 on FanDuel. Price tag is pretty ridiculous against the Warriors. And then you have Rashawn Holmes at 64. His minutes have also kind of been fluctuating. So you have three guys that look really good. Probably a couple of them will have some big games. Just have to hope they get lucky. Then you have Cousins at 61 against Washington. So you have a ton of options here, like four guys in the 6K range. And then you have, or three guys in 6K range. And then you have Capella. And then the 5K range, it's DeAndre Jordan. So five guys that I'm really considering. Right now, I just like Holmes. Jordan has been like one of the worst defensive centers this year. Does block some shots and stuff like that, but teams have just been able to pile up the scoring against him in the paint, and especially center. So I think Holmes have a couple of bad games. I think he will bounce back here. I feel better playing Holmes than like Drummond in case Drummond gets into foul trouble again. The coach absolutely hates him. They're gonna trade Drummond if any team wants to take him. It's a matter of time before that happens. Holmes, a couple of down games here, but he does give you some big time upside. The minutes, last game he didn't have to play at all in the fourth, so he's still going to get you around like high 20s, I think, maybe low 30s, depending on how he's playing. And matchup against the Brooklyn Nets is just a great one. Should get a ton of rebounding opportunities if this game does play super fast like it should. And that's pretty much it for the video. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. Best of luck tonight, and catch you all later.